You know how much I love talking to this woman here. This is the third episode in our series of Wellness Wednesday. Diahanne Rhiney is, well, she's a man. She does all things. Diahanne, how are you? Business owner, mother, wife, guru, health guru.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
Do you
it.
know what? I'm in a good place,
I can
but
tell.
I've got there by doing the work on myself. And sometimes it's not been nice. Sometimes you have to do that. I call it taking off the mask as an exercise I do when I have these retreats, and it's called taking off the mask. And the one question I ask lots of the women who look like us in the room, I say, okay, name the amount of masks you wear. So
Yeah.
they do one, two, three, four, nine, whatever. And then I say, now let's start by getting rid of one.
One mask. Yeah.
And why have you chosen that mask? It is deep, some deep,
Powerful.
deep we
Powerful.
do, you
Because I
know?
suppose you also ask, why have you put it on? What does it represent?
Yeah. And also, what are you hiding
What
from?
Because that's what I'm
Unfortunately, all of us have a backstory. And I say my area of specialty is early childhood trauma. That's my area of specialty. So why have we become the women we have today? And a lot of times when you start unpicking, it goes back to things in our childhood that you just think, wow, how is that related? But then, if you're in therapy and you go work it through, you then find out. So
yeah,
trust
yeah,
me, I've had to do the work.
yeah. I'm going to be launching. I really want to talk to you about this maybe on another podcast. It's a 21-day journal. It's called Rewire, and it's about
Oh, I
going.
love that title,
Oh,
Rewire.
Diahanne, and it came out of me deciding to walk from a marriage. That was my story. You might need to rewire your childhood. You might need to rewire your relationship with money. You might need to rewire your work ethic. Do you keep meeting the same person at work and you don't understand why? Do you need to rewire your work ethic? Do you need to rewire your relationship with your children? We spoke about empty nest syndrome.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
so many areas. I'd really
But
love
you
to
know what the hardest thing, though,
go on.
Angie, is? I recently said to someone very close to me, and we were talking about something very similar. And they said to me, oh, I need to renew, regenerate, rewire, I think is a beautiful way to describe it. But I said, we've been talking about your marriage and the children and all sorts of stuff. But there's only one common denominator.
In all of them, and that is, and on that note,
And that's why I say we have to do the work.
yes,
And
yeah,
sometimes looking in the mirror
is the
is not,
hardest thing to do.
yeah. And I say to people, the one thing with me, am I perfect? Hell no. Um, but I've learned through time and loving me to embrace my scars because they actually make me who I am today.
Yeah,
So we need to embrace our scars, embrace our faults, but work on them.
yeah,
And that's what I think people need to do. And I know we're going to talk about meditation. One of the ways that I heal, how I embrace my scars, and how I look at my faults and work out ways that I can improve for me is through meditation.
okay. So let's go there. We've talked about burnout. We've talked about finding time for ourselves. And I really wanted to talk to you about the power of
Mm,
meditation. Now,
yeah.
meditation isn't sitting there cross-legged going, ooh. It's, it's that's not what it is. No, no, there's nothing wrong in sitting cross-legged going, ooh. But it takes different forms, doesn't it?
It really does. And let me be honest with everybody. If you asked me even 5 years ago about meditation, I'd be like you. Not that said whatever, man. It's just not happening. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. But you know what changed my view? A good friend of mine who meditation, you know, he went to a monk's retreat
Oh,
where it's just quiet
yeah,
and
yeah.
and it changed his life mentally and physically. He's a lot better health wise, because people understand meditation really helps relieve stress, anxiety. And there's different things. You can have breathing exercises where you really, if you've got something that's really weighing on you and you just want to expel it, exhale, certain types of meditation are fantastic for that. But like I said from day one of our Wellness Wednesdays is it's gradual, step by step. When I started meditation, I didn't do no 30-minute meditation or anything like that. I did 5 minutes.
Is that as
And
much as
I,
you could have done at the time?
yeah, because I didn't, yeah. And even with the 5 minutes, I was like, people, I have to be real. I was like, what is this? But when you start to really understand the premises is where it came from, you comes from Buddhism, Hinduism, Eastern philosophies, and really understand that you need to really delve into you deeply and becoming kind of detached in that moment from anything but centering yourselves. It is one of the most powerful things.
I'm
But
gonna
like I said, people, I didn't start with because I was one of these people. How are this?
I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate with you here. You mentioned Hinduism, you mentioned Buddhism. If you are a Christian, because I was once taught,
Like me.
I was once taught years ago that meditation and prayer, Hinduism, different practices from different religions can't mix. And I found personally that was causing a little bit of stress because I love to sit still. I go in the park, I sit down for about 10, 15 minutes and I just take in the sounds of nature and then I breathe and I focus on the beautiful sunny air, whatever, and then I pray. Am I meditating and praying? Can the two mix? Fix this one for anybody.
It can definitely mix because if you think, this is my belief, prayer, because trust me, like recently we've had a personal matter, and I went into prayer warfare. And that was like me going into meditation welfare. I was focusing because what it is that, they say meditation is like the practice of individuals who mindfulness, as we've discussed throughout this series, but you're focusing your mind on a particular object, thought, or activity, and you're training your mind through breathing, through attention, focusing. And that's what you do in prayer, isn't it?
Well, I do.
So do you know what? Like you can have words that, you can say be quiet, you can say shut up. They mean the same thing, but just different ways of saying it. I think prayer meditation, actually, one might be called prayer, one might be called meditation, but the practice that you do is
Yeah.
the same.
Being still, being
Being
focused.
centered and focused. Yeah.
You need.
So I don't believe in that. And I believe with whatever your religion, the overarching is God. You believe in something higher than you. So even people who are agnostic, to me, they still believe in a higher power. So
Mm,
you can still
mm.
focus whatever that energy, whatever that particular object you're trying to shift. You can still do that. So yeah, I definitely believe, trust me, I went to an old school church
Oh, hello.
and, you
Putting
know,
the
so,
meditation, you started off, you said you started with 5 minutes because you couldn't sit still.
no,
But
no, I couldn't.
now at 30 minutes.
I can do more, but 30 minutes is what I can realistically put into my day due to my lifestyle and a family and stuff like that. But like I've been away on weekend meditation retreats where you meditate a lot through the day. And it's still been, but that's been 5 years. Do you know
Okay.
what I mean? I didn't get there overnight. Trust me.
If you don't meditate, and please don't say that you wouldn't start your day without meditating, but if you didn't meditate, what would your day look like?
It to me, for me, meditation sets me up for the day. Like how some people have to have breakfast in the morning because it sets them up for the day. And you know, they say like if you have something like porridge, it's got a slow release of energy through the day. That's how my meditation is for me. It starts my day for me correct, the right focus, the right mindset. And then throughout the day, it just keeps me there, you
Keeps you
know, so that when I do have things like awful, you hear something awful on the news, I can still try to ground myself through that meditation from the morning.
there.
Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes, obviously, we have so many messages that hit us throughout the day. It can really unground you, you know?
Is it kind of like clearing out the mind from the day before and preparing you for the day ahead with
Yeah, for me, it is.
a nice clean plate and we're ready to move on? And so it is a
You
powerful
start
tool.
with a canvas. You
Yeah.
start, for me, I start with a clear canvas every day. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of people, and that's why sleep, and that's one thing we can go into at a later date, because a friend of mine is a sleep expert. And he was saying how sometimes the things that we bring into our sleep
Oh,
from the day, chaotic and all of this craziness, you know, some people meditate just before they go to bed to kind of empty that cup, cleanse it,
yes,
because it's got so tainted with the social media and this and who hates who and the war and fighting and the kill. It's just too much for our brains,
overload.
you know. And people don't understand meditation is been proven to reduce anxiety and depression,
See that?
improved emotional health, and enhanced self awareness. Because
Yeah.
that's what I think it brings you, that self awareness of what's going on for you, which I think is very, and that's why I think meditation is a very individual and personal thing, even if, you know, people do group meditation, but it's a very, very personal thing. I remember I can't believe I actually did it. So I fast, intermittently fast. Yeah, but I did this month long of changing my whole lifestyle. So I started with, I don't eat meat and everything, so I haven't for since I was 5, so a long time. So, but what you had to do was, gradually come to liquids and just do smoothies.
Fish.
Huh? Sorry.
Fish.
Um. So from 5 up until probably 6 years ago, I only ate plants.
Wow.
And then due to ill health, I was told to introduce a little bit of fish occasionally. So I do have fish occasionally, but most of my diet is
Plant-based.
plant based. Yeah. And two of the children are plant based as well. But so I did this whole month of, cleansing your system and detoxing and all of this. And then the last 7 days was water only. I was like, for a whole 7 days? No, seriously. It was meditation, focus, and mindset. I got through that 7 days. Everybody said, I've got a newfound respect for you. But it was the mindset, it was the meditations every morning that set me up for the day. And I genuinely wasn't hungry. That's how powerful when you take on meditation it is.
Where do you feel the major shift since you've started meditating?
Boundary setting, because
Okay,
I've been focused. It's really allowed me to say no a lot more.
good.
And also, it's that because when I'm stressed, everybody's different. It goes to my shoulders and my lower back. So I have less of that.
Okay.
I'm not saying I don't get stressed at all, because that wouldn't be telling you the truth. But I have reduced my stress levels quite significantly by meditation and just grounding myself. And sometimes I'll just go in the garden, put my feet slightly apart, feel the grass beneath my feet, and again, I ground myself. And I know it might sound to people, ooh, but that feeling of the earth and the ground and just taking us back to
Nature.
sort of stripping back everything is fantastic for me. If you told me that would be me 5 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, right, mate. You know what I mean? Right, barefoot in the garden. Oh, yeah, hugging trees.
Is there anything about the power of meditation on your website?
We do a session, and actually we're going to upload it. There's going to be a whole session on meditation and books that I would recommend who are great. And there's 2 apps that were designed for meditation for Black women.
Okay.
It is phenomenal.
Okay. Can you?
Yeah, and you can have guided meditation and you can have unguided meditation. And I'll definitely tell you what they're called in a minute, because menopause brain, sorry. But there's 2 they are phenomenal. And they were designed to really take on board the additional layers of stress that we have to go through on a daily basis.
So, just in closing, Diane, and I maybe this is a complete different podcast. There were apps designed for Black women. We carry a different set of
Oh,
trauma
we do.
to our
We
core.
do. We people need to understand what I have to deal with day to day. And I know there's people who say, "Oh, get over it," get over it. I unfortunately can't get over whatever you think I should get over, because every day I walk out there, I I am a Black woman, and that brings a level of stress that other people will never experience. Even little things in dealing with your medical staff and the way that you're treated differently, and the further stress that causes us. So people need to understand, and that stress, and I won't even go into historical trauma stress,
Ooh,
sits in our body.
it does. It sits in our cells.
And health wise, it causes real problems.
It
And
does.
they say meditation, physical health, it helps lower your blood pressure, improves sleep,
Mm-hmm.
because you're flushing out all of that toxins mentally through meditation, and reduces symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. There's some real benefits from meditation.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that's where we got to wrap it up. But we need to do this again. We need to talk psychological wellness. And I'm going to assume
Yes.
we can probably weave meditation and the benefits of it into that psychological.
Yes. And also, all of the things that we've discussed, they're all connected, because it's about having time for self. It's about recognizing that you're maybe going through burnout. It's about having time for you. It's about meditation. It's about changing it. This whole thing, what you've created, Angie, which is so beautiful, is all about overall the holistic approach to wellness.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you all, one lead to the other. And
Yep.
if you don't look at it
Well,
holistically, it's going to cause a problem. So we need to look at everything, even like, come on, love, meat included, me have a little bit of a sweet tooth. Me love a sticky pudding and vanilla ice cream. But guess what? Sometimes we have to really look at the things that we're putting in our body. So let's talk the real talk.
The
And you know, us
about
Caribbeans, Africans, all this, I won't get into you guys seasoning. Whereas me, what I do now, we can grow things in our garden and we have the natural seasonings and blend it up and rub it on the things and for us plants, for my partner who still love a meat on the meat or whatever. But what I'm saying is we need to reduce the salt.
oh,
Salt is a problem for us even in sleep. But that's for another podcast. But all I can tell you is holistically, this is the best place on a Wednesday. Holistic wellness with Angie. Okay, come on now, Angie.
my Wellness Wednesday started because of that.
Oh, and you know what, everybody, we got to share this little bit of thing before we wrap up.
This woman,
I bumped into Angie at an event, and you see that the body there. Me said, we are. We got competition.
she's very happy.
Angie was looking very, very. Mm-hmm. And it's not about being slim, it's about being healthy.
This woman's happy.
Healthy.
Yeah. But this woman made some tweaks in her diet and now sleeps better, is happier, can concentrate more. You remember, right, in one of our sessions, I was perspiring. That's because I had some alcohol last night. So when you're talking about the salt and the sugar, I'm hearing you. And that is another podcast. Diahanne, we've got to do psychological wellness, and we'll do that in our next podcast. Diahanne, always a pleasure. Tell us quickly about your website, please, My Caroline.
As I keep saying, must join me. And don't worry, we're going to be having Angie Pan there as well. mycaroline.co.uk is going to be the number one, not I hope it's going to be, it is going to be the number one space globally for women of Black heritage to have that wellness space where they feel safe and we can just talk and we can just do and we can support. So join us.
Diahanne Rhiney, always a pleasure. Do check out My Caroline, but join us again next week because we're definitely going to talk psychological wellness because it's so important. And maybe that's when we can go into a bit of Caribbean trauma and why things need to be unpacked. And we'll also...
And read I've got an article out about that, about women and wellness and about trauma. So check it out on Black Wall Street Media and you'll see my article, which talk about all of this that we have to go through.
Black Wall Street Media, love that. Diahanne Rhiney, always a pleasure.